Welcome to Art Fun with Vanessa Lombardo. Today we're going to be learning about value. So get your pencil and let's start shading. Value is a gradation of color from light to dark. You can demonstrate value using a variety of techniques such as cross-hatching, stippling, stumbling, zigzag, and much more. Don't forget to pause if you need more time. Let's start off by drawing a bar that we can shade in. So I'm going to draw a rectangle about 2 finger spaces wide and about the length of my hand. There's my rectangle. Now let's find the center of this rectangle and divide it in half. If I divide these in half, that would be quarters. That gives me 4 approximately equal size spaces. Let's start with the first space. We're going to go from darkest to lightest on our value bar. So I would like you to hold your pencil close to the tip, but not all the way down. And we're going to go in a circular motion all the way around the perimeter. By shading in a circular motion, it helps prevent streaking. Gives you a little bit more of a precise shading. If you need to turn your paper, you can. Go back over any spaces that you may miss. If there's a little white space, go back and fill it in. There. So now that I have the outline of my area here, the whole perimeter is filled in, I'm going to go back and fill in the center. Still doing those little circular motions, overlapping, filling it in firmly but even all the way across. And anywhere it looks a little bit lighter, you can go over it to even it out. Now this is shading simply using your pencil. Later on, we'll go over how to shade using your finger or a smudging tool. So there is my first section of my value bar, filled in dark. Now to the next section, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold my pencil a little further back this time. That way I have less pressure. And I'm going to go around it, but a little bit lighter this time. Don't want it quite as firm. Smooth, even pressure. Circular motion. All the way around, and then fill in your space. Nice and light. This gives me a medium shade, just a little bit lighter than the first one. So I have dark and medium. Now the next one, I'm going to hold my pencil even a little bit further back, and I'm going to be using my whole arm to move my hand, not just my wrist. Use your shoulder and go very lightly all the way around. I'm barely pressing. I'm more letting the weight of the pencil guide my shading. Very lightly all the way around, a circular motion. And then fill in the center, make sure it's nice and even. This just takes time and patience. So I have a dark, a medium, and a light. Now for the last one, I'm holding my pencil much further back and just very, very lightly. I'm really not pressing at all, it's just the weight of the pencil now. All the way around. This will make a nice shading for whatever picture you want to fill in to show shadows or highlights. It helps make pictures look three-dimensional by adding the right kind of shading. If you like, you can take your finger and slide it around a little bit on that last one to really just get it nice and smooth. And there you have 4 different shades on our value bar. Now you could do this again and divide your bar up into 6 pieces or 8 pieces and keep seeing how much of a range you can get in the shading on your value bar. Practice makes perfect, so the more you practice, the better you're going to feel about this. Keep going and see how you do. Now we're going to draw another bar the same way, right below it. It's about 2 finger spaces wide. And we're going to divide it up also in half, and each half, and half again to give me quarters. Now, this value bar was completely shaded in with my pencil. This one, I'm going to show you how to do hatching and cross hatching to fill in a space using lines. So if you're doing hatching, you can draw lines very close together, pressing firmly, filling in the space all the way across, going the same direction. And it looks pretty dark. You can go back and fill them in a little bit. Make it a little darker if you like. This would be hatching. If I wanted to do it a little darker and give a little bit more texture, I could do cross hatching, which means I'm just going the opposite direction, right over the other lines. This definitely goes a lot faster than shading the way we did a second ago. And it gives a nice effect. This is great if you are drawing with a pen or a marker. To make it a little bit lighter, I'm going to do the same thing, but draw my lines a little further apart. Once again, this would be called hatching. And if I went the other direction, it would be called cross hatching. So you can see how this is very dark. This is somewhat darker. It looks similar to the one above it. Now, if I draw my lines really far apart and maybe press a little bit lighter, it's going to give me a lighter value. And the final box will be even further apart, very lightly drawn. And you can see the difference in value from this box all the way down to this box. Now let's draw another bar. I'm going to show you a couple of more ways to show value and shading. Let's divide this in half and then in half again, giving me quarters. If you wanted to do stippling, stippling would be little dots or polka dots, however you want to do it. Stippling are spots, little pixels, little dots. If I filled this space with 1,000 dots, it's going to be very dark like this. This is called stippling. I could also do something called scumbling, which is a lot of fun. Scumbling is doing little scrolly, swirly lines like this. It fills in a space very quickly. Scumbling is fun, and it definitely speeds up the process and gives a really nice effect, especially if you're doing animal hair or trying to give a different kind of a texture than you would get with hatching. So here is scumbling. Remember, stippling is just little dots, and scumbling are scribble, little swirly lines. There we go. Now the next one, a little bit bigger, more of a loop in between. I'm not pressing quite as firmly. And this will give me my medium value. There we go. A little bit bigger still. And that will look a little bit lighter. And then if you do it really large, press very lightly, it will give me my lighter tone. So I would like you to continue practicing your value shading. You can create your own bar with your own type of design instead of scumbling. Maybe you can come up with something a little bit more interesting that you really enjoy, and explore what you can do with value. Thank you for joining me for Art Fun with Mrs. Lombardo. Remember to do a little bit of art every day and share what you've learned with someone you love.